Welcome to another beautiful conversation on teenage pressures. And Teenagers are children between 13 years old and 19 years old. And research has shown that some parents of children within this age group struggle. And teenage years are experimental years. Kids are developing, going through body changes, trying to understand hormonal pressures, and getting to identify who they are. But these phases of life, if not managed properly, could actually change the parent-kid relationship for good. Again, there is also the need to pay attention in increasing availability of information to teenagers as regards the fact that we have social media, the internet. So there's so much information coming to teenagers right now. And the pressures from social media and also financial pressures that continue to rise with parenting. I believe that today's conversation is a necessity and is more of a reflection, actually. If you're listening to us today as an adult who was once a teenager, and also as a teenager, if you're one, have you ever heard, and why did you? And today, I have Didi with me as my co-host, and we'll be sharing some of our thoughts today. So Dee, what do you think about teenage pressure?
Okay, so for me, teenage pressure is like in different categories. You can have pressure from school, pressure about parents, pressure about your future, even pressure with friends, like generally. So teenage pressure in terms of school can be about the schoolwork, maybe the course you're doing, you have certain expectations and you're not meeting them. Then about the future, maybe you see your friends talking about, oh, they've settled for this is what they want to do. And then for you, you haven't like figured out what you want to do. So it could be quite stressful on your part. You could feel less about yourself or something. Okay, so I would also like to ask a question.
Okay.
What you think a teenage stage is like?
I would say that a teenage stage is majorly that change, the period in which, as an individual, whether male or female, you're going through bodily changes and you're active, you're restless. It's like a youthful change, a change or a period of freedom. But then it's also a change, a period whereby you need to incorporate restraints. Is a stage that needs to be managed and guided by guardians or parents or people that, or a mentor, I would put it in that way, or a mentor. Because if not properly managed, that stage, if not properly managed, can actually, I would say, can actually mar somebody's future. It could be that it could be the time whereby a person could make a mistake that could change the course of their life, whether for good or for bad. It's a very, very sensitive and delicate stage. And I believe that any teenager that is listening to us right now, you need to pay attention to the things that you do and the things that you don't do as well. And also, most importantly, listen to the why, why your parents are telling you to do something or why they're telling you not to do something. I think the why is very important. Whether they tell you to do something or not is probably, but why are they telling you not to do this particular thing, or why are they telling you to do it? So then that would actually clarify and remove any doubts about whether they are thinking they want you to succeed or not, when you understand the why. Yes, and let me also put it this way, like parents should also, I would say this, even whether you're a parent, you're a sister, an aunt, an adult, a mentor, whatever you are to a teenager, you should always try as much as possible to answer their questions, because that is very important. I would look back when I was a teenager, there were so many things, like there were so many questions I had. Being able to find answers to those questions, whether in books, whether in church, or whether with, I was fortunate to have like an adult who was like a Bible study teacher who was always talking and answering some of my questions. And yes, being able to have answer to those questions actually helped me, you know. That didn't mean that I didn't take certain risks, which I was not supposed to, but actually that also guided me. Didi, have you ever done something contrary to what you ought to do or what your parents wanted you to do?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Example. Example.
Okay, so my parents always said this thing. For them it's just like security wise, don't go out, don't party at night, all these kind of things. But then in my own opinion, I just feel like there are people that do this thing and nothing goes wrong, like nothing happens to them, they come back safe and all that. So I decided to like try it out and see what it is like. I'm like, okay, so today I'm going to go out. But then when I was about going out, it was like I could hear their voice in my head all over again, like, don't go out, don't go out. So, but then I was so determined. I'm like, there's nothing there. People do this and then nothing happens to them. So I just decided to go out. And the reason why I went out was because I felt if I keep staying indoors, and then it will get to a particular stage where going out, when I now become an adult fully, going out to be scary for me. Like I would feel like there is one danger out there. Something is coming to attack me or someone is coming to kidnap me. So I'm like, I should start doing it from now. If they're not going to be in support of it, I would explain to them that this is what I feel about it. Because if I keep staying indoors, I can't stay indoors for life. Like there'll be occasions where they won't be there anymore and it will just be me and my own decision to make. So that was basically why I tried that out.
Well, would I say fortunate? When you were talking about going out at night, I actually, like, growing up, I think I wasn't really restricted in that sense. I had that liberty to go out. But funny enough, I wasn't the kind of person that loved going out a lot. So in as much as I had the liberty, I wasn't really using it. And I've never thought about going out in the night, any risk. Like, I could go out and I've never thought about it. I just go out. Like, even when I want to go out in night, I've never thought about any danger and anything. So, like, yeah, it never occurred to me, like, except maybe when I hear something in the news or something, but still, I just go out. I just feel like, yeah, I just go out. But I didn't really maximize that freedom in as much as I had it. And another thing that came to my mind when you were talking about it was something I was going to touch on. And like I said earlier, like, this form of reflection for adults that are already, people that have already passed the stage of teenagehood, I'll put it in that sense, and for them to reflect about how they felt as a teenager and to be able to advise teenagers, and also for teenagers to also reflect about the decisions that they make. So I would say that freedom is good, because obviously there are certain things that you would not be able to do as you grow older. And there was my grandma came to the UK at some point, and when she came, there was at some point I just thought about our visitation and everything, because there were so many things I wanted her to do. I wanted to take her out and everything, but at the same time there were so many things she couldn't do. So in as much as she had the luxury of doing this and that and everything, but because she was old, she couldn't even do them. There were food, there's so many things she could, you give it, but she can't even eat them because there are certain foods she can't eat. So that time, that made me realize that, well, there are certain things that you can do now because you can enjoy it. Do you get? Like, and honestly, that even changed some of the things that I started doing, because I realized that at some point I won't be able to, like, maybe travel all over the world, even if I had loads of money to travel all over the world. Because sometimes, like, some people say that, oh, until they have made all the money before they do this or that. But you realize that when you get to that stage that you think that you have everything, you won't be able to do it, the people might carry you from one place or the other, but you won't be able to experience that life, like jump around, like jump in a pool, like do all those skating and all those stuff. There's certain things you won't be able to do, even if you have the freedom to do it. Like you might not be able to go to work, like you're retired, you're not going to work, but you won't just be able to do it. So I just believe that as young as you can be, like even if you pass the age of teenagehood, like if you have the opportunity, the liberty, do certain things, not illegal things, not things that will put you in trouble, that kind of thing. But I think that it is necessary that we allow that teenagers and children even enjoy that freedom, because and also I believe that teenagehood is a time of experiment. Like imagine you start a business as a teenager. You can rise and fall. Like you can make mistakes. You can spend all the money and then you make it up again. But there's some risk that you can't take when you have children, when you're an adult. Because if you lose all the money, you're putting so many people's life in danger. Like you might not be able to pay fees and all that. So you can't take certain risks. But as a teenager, as a young person, where you're 21, you don't have like so much responsibilities. You can start that business. It can fail. You will learn something, start again, that kind of a thing. So I think that it's necessary that in as much as we're guiding our teenagers, even whether you're an aunt, uncle, or brother, like we should not limit their ability to take risk. And sometimes like people that grow up from like an African home, sometimes in the course of trying to protect us, sometimes they restrict us, and sometimes they kind of like make us withdraw from certain things. At the end of the day, you're unable to take risk. Like you will see risk and be like, oh my god, no, I don't want to take it. Like it's like you've been brainwashed not to do certain things, so much more that you don't now see those things as opportunities, but you see it like a form of no, I'm protecting myself. Like there's just like a wall that just comes up when you see something that is scary. But I don't think that should be the goal, even as much as we're trying to protect and guide teenagers to make the right decisions. I think we should allow them explore. And that was something I wanted to chip in, which I thought in my mind I was going to say. So what else do you think, Dee?
Okay, so for me, I feel teenage pressure differs in, I say, various years now. For our parents and older ones, I feel like the kind of pressure they had then is different from what some teenagers have now. So making a comparison between what you had then and what we have now is just not flowing. Like
the way you're saying what you had then, like, are you referring to me?
Yes.
I'm not your...
Exactly. It's like maybe then now they used to worry about this particular clothes and stuff like that. And then now is a general thing, people do it. But then you're trying to correct your teenage child or class thing I'm going to talk about now. So I want to talk about teenage pressure and different eras. So at times I've been in situations where I'm being told that in my time, this is what we do, this is how you should do it. In fact, there was even someone that their parents kept on telling them that in their time, this was the particular course that brought money and all that. But then thinking about how the world is now, the world changes every day. Different things come on board. You can just write something and then it gets out, like it brings you opportunities. It can be speaking, it can be cooking, it can be anything. So I feel like they shouldn't put pressures on teenagers based on what they had in their time. What you had in your time is different from what is in vogue in this particular time. Yes, it is good to guide the teen, advise the teen, but then at the same time, try to listen to why this teenager is choosing to do this, why this person wants to do this. So for someone who is going through pressures from their parents on certain things, what advice would you give to the person?
I would advise that the teenager should actually ask the why. Like I said earlier, the why is very important. The why will help you to evaluate whether this decision you're about to make or what you're trying to tell you to do would benefit you or not. Because whether it is a negative pressure or a positive pressure, it's all going to be on you at the end of the day. So if it's, for example, if it's an academic pressure, you score 50, they want you to have an A, they want you to score 80, that's a good pressure. So if it's something that you can do it. Like try your best, read, because at the end of the day, it's your results. If you get the results, if you get the certificate, it's your name on it, it's not your name. The joy they're going to have at the end of the day is that they're going to be proud of you and probably boast to their friends that you came first or that you came out with a distinction, whatever it is. But then it's still for you. It's still yours, at the end of the day. So that's a good pressure. If it's a negative pressure, maybe they're putting so much pressure on you to get married, or they're putting so much pressure on you to, like, maybe, I don't know, work financially, or maybe they have friends, they have, because obviously they have friends as well. And sometimes parents compare, they have friends whose kids have graduated maybe at 19, or whose kids have graduated at 21 and they're already working in some, I don't know, company, and they're earning so much, or they bought cars for their parents, and your parent is putting that pressure on you to do this and that and everything. That could be negative, and you need to know the why. And I think that a way to go about negative pressure is communicate to them and tell them, sorry, I am trying my best, but this is not pulling through just now. What the kind of pressure you're putting on me, I might end up doing something I don't want to do, and it won't be good for both parties at the end of the day. So you just communicate. I think the communication is very important. So communicate, because for you to even get the why, you need to communicate. For you to like know, you need to communicate. And they also, parents also, I'm also imploring parents should learn to communicate the why, to tell their kids the why. Whether a teenager, whether a young child, or whether a child in their 20s, they need to know why you want them to do something. And that is how they can understand what you're trying to say and understand the process. And then it all comes together. And at the end of the day, parents and children can have a good relationship. So, but I think that for teenagers, the why is very important. Know the why, know why it benefits you. If you can't understand the why, your parents are not communicating to you for one reason or the other, then speak to an uncle, a brother, a teacher that you can speak to. If you have counseling department in your school, you can also talk to them and say, I am trying to make this decision, or my parents want me to do something and I can't understand why. I don't understand how it's going to benefit me. Maybe somebody will be able to shed more light. If it's your Bible study teacher, if you have one, speak to them. If it's an aunt, a mentor, speak to them. Somebody that can advise you positively. Most importantly, just speak to them and communicate. And then maybe they can also speak to your parents if that person or that mentor also realizes that it might not be something good for you, maybe they can speak to your parents and you all can reason together and make a better decision that you all will be happy with. I think that that's the way to go about it. So yes, we will end here right now. Do you have anything else to say for us to conclude this discussion?
Yes, I would like to add that the teenage stage is a very sensitive stage. It's a stage that should be handled carefully and guided properly. Guided properly in the sense that you should hear teenagers out and know why they are going through something like this or why they've decided to do this. Don't just like enforce things on them, like listen to what they have to say too, because if it is not handled properly and then when they grow up and they find people going through things like that, they too will not see the need to handle it properly because in their own time it wasn't handled properly. So it keeps going on and on and on that way. So that's all I
have. Thank you so much for that contribution. And that has also been the reason for abuse, even in marriages. Like it has been, the research have shown that people, teenagers or children that have gone through a form of abuse that have not been addressed, sometimes repeat the same cycle and repeat the same process just because they felt that was the way to do things or that's how to do things. And also, yeah, I feel like that's some. Thank you so much. That's a very important point. And that is it today on today's conversation. And before I go, I'd like to recommend a book by Dave Mayer, and it says Freedom is Costly but Priceless. I feel like the teenage world is a phase of life, it's a time of freedom, but teenagers should be guided because that phase, if not managed properly, could actually mar them. It could lead to something that could change the course of their life, whether for good or for bad. So, and also parents should learn to listen and communicate the why, most importantly. The why helps them to understand and also see reason, whether for them to compromise or so that they can be more optimistic about the decisions that they make. Because whether we like it or not, yes, children will grow, they will have to live their life at the end of the day, and they need to learn to make independent decisions. And that teenage time or that phase of life is the time whereby they are experimenting and practicalizing the ability to make those decisions themselves. Yes, yes, yes. They will come your way again with another beautiful conversation. Stay tuned to Peculiar Stars Lifestyle channel, and we will be right back. Take care. Okay, I'm just going to start. Okay, yeah, good evening. I don't know why I said good evening. Sorry, it's not good evening. Welcome to another beautiful conversation on teenage pressures. And teenagers are children between 13 years old and 19 years old. And research has shown that some parents of children within this age group struggle. And teenage years are experimental years. Kids are developing, going through from the era.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it again. We're going to do it differently.
Okay.
That's fine. It should
Yeah.
be short though.
So, um, for this particular thing I'm going to talk about now, so I want to talk about teenage pressure and different eras. So at times I've been in situations where I'm being told that in my time, this is what we do, this is how you should do it. In fact, there was even someone that